Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Jacob as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. This is from an act named Damien Rice titled Long Long Way, and we're gonna listen through this track from start till finish. We're gonna hear what we think. I don't think I've listened to Damien Rice before, so let's go, let's do it. Just that I remember it. What kind of strings are those? I should really just try and figure this out during the reviews. Wait, that's not a string at all. What is that? Is that like an accordion or something like that? It is, isn't it?
Long way down if you fall, and it's a long way back if you get lost. Long way out to it's a long way to go to lose your friends, and it's a long way to hold all the traps you've trod when you could just stop and let go. And you say not now, maybe later, but not now. Maybe later, but not. You're only in your way. Later, but not. You're only in your way. Later, but not. You're only in your way.
Why are these people... Ah, that chord progression with the 7th on the end. Very used to double tracking, I suppose, over top of that. Unless that's a doubler of some kind. Oh, it's a loop pedal, right? Hmm. It's great that the crowd enjoyed it. I think that's fantastic. I think if you go to a gig like this, you want to, watch a musician play on stage and you want to enjoy it, right? Even if for some people it was visibly very personal for them. They're very affected by it. You could see some people crying and stuff like that in the stands and the close-ups. We'll have a look through the lyrics and then we'll talk about this track more in the conclusion. So this is, again, it's the lyrics for a track from an ex named Damien Rice titled Long Long Way. Producers are Damien Rice and Rick Rubin, which is really interesting. Really, really interesting. Lyrics are long way to the top, long way down if you fall. It's a long way back if you get lost. Long way to hold the traps you've trod when you could just stop and let go. You say, not now, maybe later, you're only in your way. Because love is tough when enough is not enough. Oh, okay, I kind of get it. I think we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion analysis, my review of this track from an ex named Damien Rice titled Long Long Way. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone discussing the long journey that someone goes on through their life and discussing how difficult it can be to come back from when you get to a point where you've kind of made a mistake. Like if you're tunnel visioned too much with things, how it can be really difficult to fix it. And that you've just got to be careful. And sometimes love is really difficult when, depending on how far you go with it, like how committed you are. It can be tougher and tougher to love something the longer you stick at it, and you've just got to find a way to keep going. And it can apply to, I think, a variety of different things. They mentioned all like the traps that they troll and stuff like that, so I assume that that's talking about like the plans that people make and stuff like that to get things to work and such as they go along their journey, their big plan. And then maybe the people that they lose along the way as well in that middle verse. But it's interesting. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I'm sure. I personally can relate to it. I think everybody has this idea of how their life is going to go, and then sometimes it doesn't necessarily go that way. So I think that it's a story that is compelling. I understand why a lot of people are affected by it. It's open enough to interpretation that most people could feel it differently, yet still have a similar experience to it. I think that the way it was sung by Damien Rice was great. They're a solid singer. They've got like a set vocal range that they're comfortable in. They are comfortable in their head and chest voice. There is a range in regards to the dynamics of it. They're comfortable belting. They're comfortable harmonizing with themselves. There was great use of loops and stuff with the vocals. There was like double tracking, and then they sort of switched to a major interlude or like an interval apart. And I like the fact that we didn't overcomplicate the vocals in this. I think that the message was the most important part about it, as well as the passion behind it. And I think that Damien Rice communicated that in spades. The track at 6:34, telling it was effectively centered around the vocal line. Of course, there was like the accordion at the start there, which was very kind of wistful and sort of uneasy and almost sort of like a ritualistic kind of thing, like a funeral. It sounded like a funeral, like almost you're having like a funeral for yourself or a memorial for yourself. Kind of the regrets you made along the way. And then eventually we get off of that with the guitar and vocals, with the vocals still being the focal point, like a very kind of common and effective chord progression with like the 1, 5, 6, 4, if I'm not mistaken, with an extension on the fourth chord there for a bit of extra kind of emotional complexity to it. But I think that the way they handled themselves in regards to the chord progressions made it like relatively, they didn't try to overcomplicate the emotionality of the actual accompaniment behind it. I mean, there was the tones and textures of the accordion that made it more mysterious at the start. The guitar was more kind of acoustic around the campfire, fireplace kind of vibe, and that's totally fine. I mean, I think that we're playing our instrument well, and again, we're trying to have for the final time, I know I mentioned it several times, we're trying to have the focal point on the vocals there, so it's effective in part because of that. Clearly, they wanted to go for a more minimalist approach with this instrumentally. The open chords on the guitar, they had a nice shimmer and sheen to them. The different ideas we had on the accordion intertwined and did kind of... It was never meant to be an uplifting piece there. There was a sense of sadness throughout the entire piece there, even though we had the chord choices with some majors and stuff like that, predominantly, or basically because of the minor leaning with the vocals and stuff like that. Also the emotion behind it. We sounded like we were crying out. So even if we had those major chords, they were betrayed by the way that we sung. And again, that part at the beginning with the accordion there kind of set the scene quite heavily. I think that with the structure of the track, going through that story through composed was effective. You could kind of go along for the steady build in regards to the dynamics of it. We went from quieter to loud, and it was great. You know, you had the crowd sing along some parts, which is good, great sort of chemistry with it. And it was a tight performance as well, that not out of place. The looping for the most part was really well done. And the studio recording, mixing, and mastering was tight as well. Vocals were well captured there, great sort of clean live performance. Fantastic sort of like processing of the accordion and the guitar tone there with the DI, if I'm not mistaken. It could be wrong, but either way, it was tight. And, you know, things leveled nicely in the mix in the stereo field. You know, the certain music surrounded you in the headphones, and there was dynamic range to it. It wasn't the same loudness all the time, but still nice and low without pumping to the bass compression. Limiting was handled. And effectively, this is my review of this track from an ex named Damien Rice. Told a long, long way. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world. Thanks to Jacob, by the way, providing the lyrics. I forgot to mention that, but I appreciate that. And I'll catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.